Welcome back to the deep dive. This is where we really try to plunge into the heart of fascinating texts, aiming to unearth profound insights and, well, make complex ideas genuinely accessible for you, our listener. Today, we're embarking on a particularly, I think, enlightening journey. We're exploring a pivotal and deeply thought-provoking work, The Need for the Imam, by Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad.
That's right.
And this isn't just, a historical document. It's presented as a profound treatise that really challenges our conventional understanding of spiritual leadership and its indispensable role in our own time.
Absolutely. It poses some fundamental questions.
Exactly. So our mission today is to unpack this crucial concept, the Imam of the age. We want to understand who this figure is, why their presence is considered absolutely essential for spiritual seekers across all eras, and what it fundamentally means for your own spiritual path in today's world.
And it's quite a complex world, isn't it? Spiritually speaking.
It really is.
Yeah.
We'll be extracting the core insights directly from the source material, making sure you walk away not just informed, but hopefully genuinely well-versed in this unique perspective.
Getting right into the text itself.
Precisely. So let's begin with a foundational question, one that the book itself places right at its very core. Why do we actually need a spiritual guide in every single era? And perhaps more urgently, what are the profound implications if we fail to recognize or connect with them?
It's a big question.
It is. It's a question that cuts right to the heart of spiritual well-being, doesn't it? And humanity's eternal quest for divine connection.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
And the urgency of that question is precisely where Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad begins his argument in the book.
Okay.
It opens by citing a profoundly significant hadith, a saying of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, which really serves as the bedrock of its entire argument.
And what does this hadith say?
It states, "Whoever dies without recognizing the Imam dies a death in a state of ignorance."
Ignorance, that sounds stark.
It is. And to truly grasp the weight of this statement, we need to understand what death in a state of ignorance actually means in this context.
Right, it's probably not just about lacking facts.
Not at all. The author elaborates that it's far more than just a lack of, say, formal education or information. It's described as a comprehensive collection of ills that no evil or misfortune is excluded from it.
Wow, that's comprehensive.
It is. Imagine, if you will, a complete spiritual void, a profound disconnection from divine guidance that leaves one utterly lost, vulnerable, and, ultimately without any true direction in their spiritual journey.
So drift, really.
Exactly. It signifies a life lived without the light of true understanding, adrift from the very purpose of existence.
Okay.
Now, this hadith, coming from the testament of the Holy Prophet Muhammad himself, makes it unequivocally necessary for every seeker after truth to be on the constant lookout for the real Imam.
So it's a duty then, an active search.
Precisely.
Yeah.
This isn't a passive hope or some vague desire. It's framed as an active, conscious, and continuous search. It places a duty upon every individual genuinely interested in their spiritual well-being. And the universality of this is striking. It's not confined to a particular group or a specific historical period. It resonates with anyone who cares about avoiding that dire state of spiritual ignorance.
So it applies today, just as much.
Absolutely. It tells us that divine guidance isn't some relic of the past, but a living, continuing reality. And failing to connect with its contemporary manifestation carries immense, indeed existential spiritual peril. It really challenges us, doesn't it, to ask, are we actively seeking the light, or are we perhaps content to stumble in the dark?
That's a powerful and, frankly, deeply unsettling call to action. It really frames our spiritual journey with a gravity many of us might not have considered. It certainly raises the stakes for understanding what it means to be truly guided. But, okay, in a world so full of diverse spiritual experiences, personal revelations, charismatic figures, where genuine spiritual yearning can easily lead one down various paths, how does one even begin to distinguish the true Imam from others?
That's the crucial question, isn't it?
It seems incredibly easy, as you mentioned, to mistake one's own, maybe profound personal spiritual experiences for something more, to perhaps elevate one's own insights to the level of ultimate universal authority.
Yes, and that's a potential pitfall.
So what does the book clarify about who isn't the Imam, especially when it comes to these personal spiritual experiences? How do we avoid that trap?
That's a critical distinction, and one the author makes very early on, precisely to prevent these common misconceptions.
Okay.
The book emphatically states that the title Imam of the Age cannot simply be attributed to every person who has received a true dream or for whom the door of revelation has been opened.
Right, so just having a spiritual experience isn't enough.
Exactly. This is where many might stumble, believing that because they've had a powerful spiritual experience, perhaps a true dream or some inspiration, they are therefore automatically a divinely appointed guide for others.
I can see how that might happen.
But the Holy Quran itself provides ample evidence that true dreams and revelations are actually described as a spiritual grace bestowed upon all believers, regardless of gender or societal standing.
Oh, interesting. So it's quite common then.
Well, the potential is there for all believers.
Right.
For example, the Quran declares, and this is a beautiful promise, really in chapter 10, verse 64, it gives the glad tiding that in this life, believers will be granted the favor of receiving true dreams and true revelations.
Right.
And similarly, chapter 41, verse 30, tells us that for those who believe in Allah and persevere, angels convey glad tidings by revelation.
Okay.
We even see historical examples, like the mother of Prophet Moses. She received divine consolation and guidance through revelation, which is a testament to God's direct communication with individuals who are righteous.
So it's a blessing, but not necessarily a sign of imamat.
Precisely. While receiving a true dream or a personal inspiration is undoubtedly a blessing and a sign of God's favor, it doesn't automatically qualify someone for the designation of Imam of the age, whose role involves universal leadership and guidance.
Got it.
The author makes it strikingly clear that such common revelations are often limited to an individual's personal affairs. They often bring nothing to the fields of knowledge, nor are they worthy of any extraordinary notice in terms of universal guidance.
Okay, so they're more personal in scope.
Yes. In fact, he warns that these personal revelations can even be unreliable or, quite disturbingly, cause the recipient to stumble if they're not understood within a larger framework of divine guidance.
How so? What's the danger?
Well, without the guiding hand of a true imam, even these personal spiritual experiences can become a source of confusion. They might foster a sense of spiritual self-sufficiency, or worse, lead to spiritual arrogance, which is presented as a significant danger.
Right, thinking you don't need anyone else.
Exactly. And to powerfully illustrate this peril, the book recounts a stark historical anecdote from the early days of Islam.
Oh.
There was a scribe of the Holy Quran, a man in close proximity to the Holy Prophet Muhammad's spiritual light. He sometimes received Quranic verses by revelation at the very moment the Prophet desired them to be recorded.
Wow, that sounds like quite a privilege.
Immense. But this unique, blessed experience led him to a dangerous conceit. He fancied himself equal to the Holy Prophet, believing there was no difference between them because he too was receiving revelation.
Whoa.
And this spiritual arrogance led directly, the book states, to his spiritual destruction. It even records the chilling detail that is graved throughout his body, serving as a physical testament to his spiritual ruin, a stark warning against spiritual presumption.
Goodness, that's vivid.
It is. And this is paralleled briefly with the fate of Balaam from the time of Moses, another figure said to be destroyed by spiritual presumption despite having received divine communication. The lesson is clear. Individual spiritual gifts, however profound, must be kept in their proper perspective relative to a divinely appointed leader.
So humility is key, even with revelation.
Absolutely. And in stark contrast, the book highlights figures like Umar, a revered companion of the Holy Prophet who also received revelation. Yet Umar entertained no pretensions about himself and never wished to consider himself a partner in the heavenly Imam. He saw himself as a lowly servant and slave. And as a result of this profound humility, the text says, was made a successor to the righteous Imam through God's grace later on.
Interesting contrast.
And similarly, Awais Qarni, a mystic known for receiving powerful revelations, maintained such deep humility that he considered it an act of impropriety to enter into the presence of the Imam, the son of prophethood, referring to the Holy Prophet Muhammad.
Even though he had his own spiritual connection.
Yes. And the Holy Prophet himself acknowledged Awais's spiritual stature, famously saying, "I smell the perfume of Allah coming from Yemen," indicating the light of Allah upon him. These examples underscore that humility, not self-exaltation or spiritual independence, is the hallmark of true spiritual receptivity in relation to the Imam.
That makes sense.
The author then laments that in his own age, many people, just because they receive a true dream or a few fragments of inspiration, mistakenly believe they have no need for an Imam of the age.
They think they're self-sufficient.
Yes, they question, are we any the less? But the book stresses that such a thought is an outright sin, because the Holy Prophet unequivocally established the necessity for an imam in every century. Failing to join the movement of the Imam of the age, even as a recipient of personal revelations, leaves one's spiritual end, according to the text, imperiled.
So it affects salvation.
That's the implication. This hadith addresses all believers, and throughout history, millions of devotees have received personal revelations. Yet their ultimate salvation and spiritual growth hinged on recognizing and joining the true spiritual guide of their time. It's a powerful reminder that individual illumination doesn't replace the need for a central, guiding spiritual sun.
That's a truly critical distinction about personal revelation. It highlights that even profound spiritual experiences require discernment and humility and can actually be a pitfall if they lead to spiritual arrogance or self-sufficiency.
Exactly.
But let's build on that, because you also touched on something fascinating earlier, the Imam's appearance bringing a spiritual diffusion. How does his presence actually transform the spiritual experiences of those around him, making their spiritual lights, as you put it, a reflection of his own? This concept of spiritual diffusion is quite intriguing. Can you elaborate on how it manifests in practice?
Yes, it's a beautiful and profound concept, and really one of the central arguments for the necessity of the Imam. The author explains that when a true Imam of the age appears, he brings with him thousands of lights, and an atmosphere of joy is created in heaven. This isn't just a passive presence. It's described as an active, transformative force, almost like a spiritual conduit.
Right.
Through this diffusion of spirituality and light, individuals who possess a latent capacity for revelation begin to receive revelation. Suddenly, their dormant spiritual senses are awakened, allowing them to perceive divine messages.
So it unlocks potential in others.
Precisely. Similarly, those inclined to deep thought find their insight and power for profound reflection significantly augmented, gaining clarity and depth in their understanding that was perhaps previously out of reach. Those with a deep love for worship gain a deeper pleasure in their service and worship, finding their prayers and devotions imbued with new meaning and joy. And those engaged in religious debates with, say, non-Muslims are suddenly given the power of incontrovertible arguments, complete proofs, their words carrying an undeniable spiritual weight that silences opposition.
So it affects different people in different ways, depending on their inclination.
Exactly. But crucially, the book emphasizes that all these spiritual phenomena experienced by others are, in fact, the result of this spiritual diffusion which comes from heaven with the Imam of the age and descends on every person worthy of it.
So they aren't generating it themselves.
They are not independently generated lights, according to this view. Rather, they are a reflection of the Imam's central light, much like planets reflecting the sun.
Okay, that's a clear analogy.
The author uses a powerful and vivid analogy. If the rays of the sun fall on a wall, the wall becomes brighter, and if it is whitewashed, it becomes even more refulgent, so that if a mirror is placed in a position to reflect its brightness, then its brilliance becomes so great that one's eyes are not able to withstand it.
Right.
But, he cautions, the wall cannot take personal credit for all that because, after the sun sets, no vestige of that brightness remains.
Okay. The light depends on the source.
Precisely. In the same way, every spiritual light is a reflection of the Imam's light. Without the sun, the Imam no trace of that brightness remains. So in essence, the Imam acts like a spiritual amplifier, boosting and reflecting divine light to everyone connected to him.
Fascinating. Is this presented as a general rule?
Yes, it's presented as a general law established by Allah, evidenced, the author argues, by the Holy Quran, authentic hadith, and human experience.
And are there specific prophecies about this?
Yes, specifically for the time of the promised Messiah, this diffusion was prophesied to be so widespread and profound that even women will receive revelation, and minors will prophesy, and ordinary people will speak under the influence of the Holy Spirit.
Wow, really widespread then.
It indicates that the spiritual fountain will flow so abundantly that its blessings will reach even those traditionally less expected to receive direct spiritual communication, confirming the immense spiritual energy the Imam brings to the world.
Okay. And conversely, what happens if someone doesn't connect with this Imam?
Well, the book reinforces the dire consequence of not perceiving this divine secret and failing to form a bond with him. Such a failure is described as leading to a spiraling decline.
How so?
It starts with initial self-sufficiency, maybe arrogance. This is followed by estrangement from true guidance, then an increase in evil thoughts, which escalates into enmity towards the divine system, and ultimately, and this is truly alarming, faith being snatched away, leaving a person utterly devoid of spiritual connection.
That sounds incredibly serious.
It's presented as such. The historical example of the Jews at the time of Prophet Muhammad serves as a powerful illustration of this principle.
How does that relate?
Well, the book explains that thousands of ascetics, among them who regularly received revelation and saw visions, were always relating the good news of the imminent coming of the prophet of the last age. They even used to pray to Allah for the triumph of religion through him.
So they were expecting him.
Deeply. Their priests were described as men of high moral caliber, continuously receiving revelations about the coming prophet and Imam of the time. This is the meaning given to the Quranic verse. They recognized him just as distinctly as they recognized their own sons, referring to their deep knowledge of the signs.
Right.
They had visions, prophecies, a deep spiritual connection. However, when the Prophet Muhammad appeared, and they rejected this Imam of the age, their pride and prejudice destroyed many priests, and their hearts became black.
Despite their previous spirituality.
Yes. Despite their previous spiritual gifts, the text says the thunderbolt of Allah's wrath destroyed them, and all their relationship with Allah was completely severed. This demonstrates that even a rich spiritual life, if disconnected from the divinely appointed Imam of the age, can ultimately lead to utter spiritual ruin.
That's a compelling warning.
It really is. It's a stark warning that one should never be like those thousands of Balaams who were destroyed for opposing one's superior in grace, highlighting the critical importance of actively seeking and connecting with the true spiritual son of one's age.
It makes you realize that spiritual growth isn't just about personal piety, perhaps, but about aligning oneself with a larger, divinely orchestrated system.
That seems to be the core message here.
So, if there's such a clear distinction between common spiritual experiences and the profound, transformative impact of a true imam, what then are the specific defining characteristics that definitively mark out the true imam of the age, the one upon whom these spiritual reflections emanate? How do we identify the spiritual son, and what makes him distinct from any other spiritual figure?
Precisely. That's the next logical step, isn't it? The book delineates several definitive qualities that distinguish the true imam of the age, making him truly unique.
Okay, let's unpack those. What's the first one?
Firstly, and fundamentally, he is described as a person for whose spiritual upbringing Allah, the Most High, is the trustee.
Meaning God directly guides his development.
Yes. His spiritual development isn't left to human effort or earthly teachers. It's directly and exclusively overseen by God. He possesses a brilliant flame of leadership that enables him to debate with all the intellectuals and philosophers in every way and defeat them.
So intellectual and spiritual power combined.
Right. He isn't just a spiritual guide for individuals, but also described as the commander-in-chief of the army of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, appointed to achieve the spiritual victory of religion once more. He's equipped, the text says, with all the necessary preconditions for reformation and the knowledge to repel objections and explain Islam's virtues to the entire world.
A huge mandate. What else?
Secondly, and quite crucially, is moral fortitude, or immense moral strength. It's imperative that he possesses a high level of moral fortitude and genuine compassion for mankind.
Compassion, okay, but fortitude implies strength too.
Exactly. This doesn't mean being passively gentle at all times. In fact, the book argues that would be contrary to the basis of moral wisdom when dealing with intense opposition or deep-seated spiritual diseases.
Right. Sometimes firmness is needed.
Yes. But unlike small-minded individuals who might burn with rage at offensive words, the imam's disposition quickly changes to exhibit signs of anger when appropriate. But his heart remains peaceful and imbued with divine mercy.
So it's controlled, not reactive.
That's the idea. The author clarifies that while he may sometimes use strong language as a remedy, as Prophet Jesus is cited as doing, using words like swine, dog, faithless, adulterous for severe spiritual illnesses.
Which sounds quite harsh to modern ears.
It does, but the point made is that such words are spoken calmly and dispassionately, not from inner fury or personal vengeance. This controlled, purposeful expression of righteous indignation is seen as fulfilling the Quranic verse, "You indeed possess the most sublime morals," demonstrating true moral strength lies in disciplined action, not uncontrolled rage.
Okay, I see the distinction. What's the third quality?
Thirdly, there's an innate authority. The author translates this concept as the power to excel in divine matters. This imamate is described as ingrained in the very nature of the person, almost like our fundamental faculties of seeing or hearing.
So it's not something acquired later.
No, it's presented as an innate power and not a temporary position conferred later or assumed by personal ambition. His soul feels pain and grief if his spiritual progress is impeded, always striving to advance in good words, righteous deeds, and all knowledge of Allah.
Driven from within.
Yes, even if people don't seek his wisdom or if the world rejects him, he remains Imam by virtue of this inborn, divinely bestowed power. His leadership isn't dependent on popularity, but on divine appointment and innate spiritual capacity.
Understood.
And the fourth.
The fourth power, described as absolutely essential and obligatory for the Imam, is extensive knowledge.
Knowledge, right? How extensive? He constantly supplicates, "My Lord, increase me in knowledge," embodying an insatiable thirst for divine understanding. By God's grace, he is granted vastness of divine knowledge, a profound insight into religious truths, unmatched in Quranic insights, power of benefiting others, and presenting arguments to perfection.
So, really unparalleled understanding.
Yes, and his sound judgment corrects the knowledge of other people. And he is aided by the light of spiritual insight, a grace Allah grants to whom he pleases.
And he helps others grow in knowledge, too.
Definitely. He's likened to a hen that carefully takes her eggs under her wings to hatch, and then infuses her own nature into the chicks as they develop. Similarly, the Imam keeps coloring the knowledge of those persons who keep his company with the color of his own profound spiritual knowledge, and steadily increases them in faith and insight.
So he elevates those around him.
That's the idea. In contrast, other inspired individuals might possess personal revelations, but lack this comprehensive transformative knowledge, perhaps being in need of a captain themselves.
Right. Piety isn't enough without knowledge.
Precisely. The book tells a humorous but pointed anecdote of a naive saint who, though devout and spiritually inclined, mistakenly informed a king that Alexander the Great was a Muslim king, inviting ridicule from the minister.
Oh, dear.
It illustrates that the Imam of the age is more in need of the power of knowledge than of revelations, because he is the protector of the egg of Islam, appointed to refute every objection from all fields, be they medical, astronomical, natural sciences, or logic, and manifest to the world the perfection and beauty of Islam. He is indeed like the philosopher's stone for Islam, capable of transforming perceived flaws into pure gold.
That's a powerful image. What comes next?
Fifthly, iron determination. Azm is deemed of paramount importance. This means not to flag whatever the circumstances, nor to give up hope.
Resilience in the face of trials.
Extreme resilience. Prophets, messengers, and imams face the most severe trials. Revelations might cease for a time, prophecies could seem unclear, there could be painful delays in divine help, and they may appear forsaken, humiliated, and cursed by the world, facing intense mockery and rejection.
That sounds incredibly difficult.
Immensely. Yet through all this, they never become despondent and remain unwavering until divine help definitively arrives. Their resolve is presented as unbreakable, a testament to their absolute conviction in their divine mission.
Okay, and the sixth quality?
The sixth quality is going before Allah, iltija ilallah, described as an indispensable quality. This refers to their absolute reliance on God during times of extreme difficulty.
Turning only to God.
Yes, when facing overwhelming foes, seeking profound signs, or showing boundless sympathy for suffering humanity, they turn to God with such submission that their prayers, full of truthfulness, sincerity, love, faithfulness, and unbreakable resolve, cause a tumult among the higher angels, creating a heart-rending uproar in the heavens.
Wow, their prayers have immense power.
That's the claim. Their passionate fervor starts to make something new in the heavens, so that destinies begin to change and the divine will takes on a different coloring. The Imam's resort to Allah is swifter in result and more efficacious than that of all the other saints of Allah.
Superior efficacy.
Yes, and this is tragically exemplified again by Balaam, the saint in Prophet Moses' time who had divine communication. But when he sided with the enemies of Moses and opposed him, he was destroyed, like one struck by a sharp sword.
Right, you mentioned him before.
He failed to understand that even a divinely communicating saint would be annihilated if he opposed one superior to him in drinking from the fountain of grace. The book notes quite starkly that thousands of Balaams were destroyed at the time of Prophet Muhammad for this very reason, having their spiritual lights extinguished because they rejected the divinely appointed leader.
A sobering point about opposing the Imam. Is there a final quality mentioned?
Yes. Finally, the phenomenon of visions and revelations is presented as a necessity for the Imam. He frequently receives knowledge, truths, and deep insights from God by way of revelation.
But we established others receive revelation too. What's different here?
The difference lies in the quality, scope, and purpose. His revelations are of an elevated rank, disclosing profound knowledge, unique Quranic insights, unraveling complex religious issues, and manifesting prophecies of a high order.
So higher caliber and broader scope.
Exactly. They are not limited to personal concerns, but come for the sake of support of religion and the strengthening of faith. God speaks to them with great clarity, forming a continuous series of questions and answers, sometimes so rapidly that the recipient feels they are actually seeing God the Most High.
A very direct and continuous connection.
Yes. Unlike lower-order inspirations, which might feel like, as the book puts it, a brick thrown surreptitiously, God draws very close to him, and to some extent he removes the veil from his holy and brilliant countenance. This full, clear, and continuous experience, imbued with power and disclosure, distinguishes his pure inspirations from satanic ones and serves as a strong, undeniable proof for others.
That's an incredibly comprehensive set of criteria. It truly sets a high bar for what constitutes a true imam. And this discussion of revelation raises an important question, particularly given the potential for spiritual misdirection we talked about. If even saints and prophets can have these powerful spiritual experiences, and yet there's a risk of satanic influence or lower order communication, how do we discern true divine revelation, especially the kind an imam would receive? This seems like a crucial point for anyone seeking genuine spiritual guidance.
Indeed it is, and the book addresses this head-on because, well, discernment is paramount, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It makes it clear that satanic inspirations are a fact, and even raw spiritual wayfarers can experience them, as well as suggestions of the lower self, which often manifest as confused or misleading dreams.
Right. The Quran mentions this.
Yes, the Holy Quran itself testifies to this, warning that they, the devils, descend upon every lying one until one has thoroughly purified their inner self. So, without proper spiritual training and guidance, even genuine spiritual inclinations can potentially be exploited.
So how does the book help us navigate this? Does it give examples?
It does. The author delves into the incident of Jesus' temptation by Satan, offering a fascinating and, I think, profound interpretation.
Okay, how is that interpreted here?
He argues that this was not a physical event, but rather a spiritual dialogue, or perhaps a satanic revelation, an internal spiritual struggle.
Not Satan literally appearing on a mountain.
That's the argument. He posits that if Satan had physically appeared to Jesus, thousands would have flocked to witness such a momentous event, and Jesus could have easily used this as a clear, irrefutable sign of his messiahship.
Good point. So it was more subtle.
Yes, an internal, subtle spiritual insinuation, a whisper of temptation, that Jesus, through his immense prophetic power, immediately recognized and repelled. The Hadith records this exchange. Satan came to Jesus and asked him, "Don't you believe that you are true?" He answered, "Certainly." Satan said, "Then climb up this mountain and throw yourself to the ground." Jesus then retorted, "Woe to you! Don't you know that Allah has commanded us not to put him to trial by our death, for he does whatever he wills?"
So he saw through it immediately.
Instantly, it demonstrates Jesus' immediate recognition and rejection of the evil thought. And the book clarifies that no stain attaches to their pure and chaste character because of this, as it was a test, not a yielding to temptation.
But is this level of discernment easy for everyone?
That's the key point. It's not the work of every ascetic or Sufi. The book cites Sayyid Abdul Qadir Jilani, a highly revered figure in Islamic mysticism. He also experienced a powerful satanic temptation. He was told in a vision that all his prayers were accepted and that what was unlawful for others was now lawful for him.
Wow, that sounds dangerously seductive.
Extremely. Yet despite the seeming grandeur of this message, he immediately recognized it as Satan and repelled it. The book then asks, if even such a great saint could face this level of sophisticated spiritual deception, how can common people be safe from such insidious influences?
Right, it highlights the need for guidance.
Exactly. This is why the author states that the jeweler of revealed gems is the Imam of the age. By staying with him, a man soon learns to discriminate between the real and the fake, much like a jeweler can distinguish genuine pearls from counterfeits with practiced ease.
So the Imam acts as a standard, a touchstone.
Yeah.
That gives you, the listener, a practical tool for evaluating any spiritual claim, doesn't it?
It does. And the historical precedent for unreliable revelations is stark. Before Islam, soothsayers in Arabia often received satanic inspirations, some of which even turned out to be superficially true, leading many astray. The Bible, too, in 1 Kings chapter 22, recounts how 400 prophets received false satanic revelations, prophesying victory for a king who was ultimately killed, while only one true prophet's revelation of defeat came to pass. This underscores the profound danger of unreliable or deceptive inspirations and the desperate need for a clear standard.
Okay, so how do we apply this standard? Does the book give clear signs of true revelation?
Yes, it does. To help you discern true revelation from false, the book provides 10 crucial signs that serve as a kind of spiritual diagnostic toolkit.
10 signs. Okay, let's go through them. What's the first?
1. Sorrowful heart. True revelation often takes place when the heart, having melted through the fire of pain, flows like pure water towards God. It's born from deep spiritual yearning and a genuine connection to divine suffering for humanity. The Holy Quran itself, it's noted, was revealed in such a state of profound sorrow.
Interesting. So rooted in deep feeling. Second.
2. Pleasure and certainty. It contains a peculiar quality of pleasure and ecstasy, bringing an inexplicable joy and spiritual exhilaration. It bestows certainty for no apparent reason, a deep conviction that transcends logic. It pierces the heart like a steel nail, leaving an indelible impression, and is always eloquent and free from error, perfect in its expression.
A sense of rightness and joy. Third.
3. Dignity and majesty. True revelation descends with dignity and majesty and carries a powerful and fearsome voice. It commands respect and attention. False inspirations, in contrast, are described as faint, stealthy, and effeminate, reflecting Satan's deceptive and weak nature.
Power versus stealth. Okay, fourth.
4. Allah's power and prophecy. It bears the impress of Allah's power, demonstrating divine authority through its sheer force and clarity. Crucially, it is sure to contain prophecies which will be fulfilled, serving as undeniable proof of its divine origin. These aren't vague, they're specific and come to pass.
Fulfillment is key. Fifth.
5. Moral progression. True revelation increases a man in goodness day by day, serving as a catalyst for continuous spiritual and moral growth. It purifies inner impurities and advances moral rectitude, making the recipient a better, more compassionate human being.
It makes you better. Sixth.
6. Inner transformation. All internal powers of man bear witness to it, experiencing a profound internal shift. A new and pure light falls on every faculty, and the recipient experiences a transformation within himself where their past flawed life dies and a new one is born, becoming a source of compassion to all mankind.
A complete internal change. Seventh.
7. Continuity of discourse. It does not end abruptly with a single communication because Allah's discourse has a continuity. God speaks and answers questions, forming a continuous dialogue. Even if there are periods of cessation for wisdom, it's an ongoing conversation.
Not just isolated messages. Eighth.
8. Fearlessness. The recipient is never cowardly, even when facing overwhelming opposition from false claimants. No fear comes over him, knowing God is on their side, and this conviction is unshakable.
Courage born of conviction. Ninth.
9. Knowledge and insights. True revelation is often the means of gaining many kinds of knowledge and insights, as God does not leave his inspired servant in ignorance. It opens up new avenues of understanding, unraveling complex spiritual truths.
Enlightenment. And the 10th.
10. Glory and majesty. It brings many other blessings, and the one to whom Allah speaks is bestowed with glory from the unseen, and majesty is conferred on him. A visible aura of divine support and respect surrounds them.
10 powerful signs. That's a very useful framework.
It really is. And this brings us to another crucial point the author underscores: the absolute necessity of ongoing revelation in every age.
Why is it so necessary now? Haven't we got the scripture?
Well, the author addresses the modern denial of revelation by scientists, rationalists, even certain religious sects, calling it the height of folly, to believe God sees, hears, and knows, but mysteriously cannot speak anymore.
Right. Why would one attribute stop?
Exactly. He powerfully argues that God's power of speech cannot be terminated, as if a divine attribute could simply become extinct. Such a belief, he argues, would cause deep despondency about God's other attributes, like his hearing or seeing. If he stopped speaking, maybe he stopped listening too.
That's a worrying thought.
It is. And a religion, he contends, can only remain alive as a source of knowledge up to that age, till the attributes of God the Most High are being manifested afresh again and again. Otherwise, it becomes reduced to stories and soon dies.
It becomes a historical artifact, not a living guide.
Precisely. Humanity's inherent need for complete spiritual knowledge cannot be satisfied, the argument goes, without divine communication and great signs. Why then would God's infinite mercy close the door to this essential connection? Cutting off fresh revelation inevitably leads, he suggests, to atheism and a questioning of faith. He gives the example of hundreds of thousands among the Hindus who became atheists because their pundits taught that the flow of divine revelation had ceased millions of years ago, leaving them with only ancient stories devoid of fresh, weighty evidence.
Lacking contemporary proof.
Yes. The Jains and Sikhs, too, are mentioned as questioning the Vedas for similar reasons. The Sikhs even separated from the prevailing Hindu thought due to the perceived lack of new proof and continuous revelation. The book highlights Baba Nanak's legacy regarding Islam, suggesting he recognized a living truth in it, contrasting with the stagnant faith around him.
So lack of living revelation leads to doubt.
That's the assertion. Ultimately, the author asserts there is always the necessity for new revelations, and these revelations are recognized by their authoritative power because, besides God, no Satan, jinn, or demon possesses such authoritative power.
And the Imam's revelation is the benchmark.
Critically, yes. The revelation given to the Imam of the age is a proof of the authenticity of the other contemporary revelations. He is the standard, the living proof of God's continued vibrant communication with humanity. This offers you, the listener, a profound reason to actively seek such a living connection, not just rely on the past.
So if these are the incredible qualities, the defining signs, and the compelling need for an imam, particularly for the continuity of pure discernible revelation, then the inevitable and most direct question is, who, then, is this Imam of the age that the book is actually pointing to? And how does he demonstrate that he fulfills these immense requirements, effectively serving as the arbiter of the age for all spiritual disputes? Where does the argument lead?
This is indeed where the author, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, makes a very direct and profound assertion, tying all these preceding arguments together quite explicitly. But first, he elaborates a little more on Allah's consistent way of not leaving mankind scattered and disunited. He points to the perfect order found in the heavenly system of the sun and stars, or even the highly organized system with an imam, the yaseh in honeybees, where one central figure guides the entire swarm.
Order in nature reflecting a divine principle.
Exactly. This principle of unity and central guidance extends to human society and, most importantly, to spiritual leadership. He connects this to the Quranic injunction in chapter 4, verse 59, obey Allah and obey the messenger and those in authority among you.
Those in authority. Who does that refer to here?
Well, while it can refer to worldly rulers, the author stresses that spiritually it unequivocally refers to the Imam of the age, who serves as the divine spiritual governor for humanity.
I see.
He actually advises his own movement, the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, at that time to be sincerely obedient to the British rule, explaining that they were not an obstacle to our religious objectives and even, in a way, assisted our religion significantly.
How so? That seems counterintuitive, maybe.
He recalls how Muslim kings had neglected Punjab, leading to the severe suppression of Islam under Sikh rule. Things like congregational prayers and the public call to prayer were actually forbidden for decades.
Right. A difficult time for Muslims there.
Very. But with the advent of British rule, he says, our good fortune was restored, and they provided protection for the religion of Islam and granted full freedom for us to perform our religious obligations, and our mosques were opened again. This religious freedom, he argues, was a favor worth remembering, as the British brought us out from under the rule of unbelief into an era where his spiritual mission could flourish.
Okay, that provides context for the worldly obedience part.
Yes. But spiritually, the command remains to gather under one ruler, inferring the necessity of joining the Imam of the age. This is hinted, he suggests, in the prayer, guide us on the right path, the path of those on whom thou hast bestowed thy favors, referring to those who receive complete spiritual favors through divine guidance via the Imam. He then clarifies that the term Imam of the age is a comprehensive spiritual office. It encompasses, in his view, a prophet, Nabi, a messenger, Rasul, a saint, Muhammad, and a reformer, Mujahid, all of these. It signifies a complete manifestation of divine leadership for a specific era.
So it's a very high station.
Extremely high. And then, with profound clarity and conviction, he makes his direct, unequivocal claim.
Which is?
I am the Imam of the age.
Right. The direct claim.
He states that God vested all the necessary signs and conditions in him and has raised me at the head of this century, specifically referring to his advent at a time when differences had spread and expanded regarding Islamic beliefs, and greatly erroneous ideas had proliferated regarding the descent of the Messiah.
So a time of confusion needing clarification.
Exactly. These conflicting opinions, whether Jesus was alive or dead, would descend bodily or spiritual where he would appear, cried out for a definitive arbiter who could settle these theological disputes.
And he claims to be that arbiter.
Yes. He declares, I am that arbiter. How come? He states, I have come to break the cross in a spiritual manner, meaning to dismantle the prevalent Christian doctrine of atonement and the physical crucifixion of Jesus as a means of salvation, which had become influential. And I have been sent to decide all controversies within Islam and between religions.
And specifically on the Jesus issue.
His verdict on Jesus is clear and, at the time, quite groundbreaking. He declares as correct the belief of highly respected Islamic scholars and schools of thought like Imam Malik, Ibn Hazm, and the Mu'tazila sect, known for their emphasis on reason regarding the death of Jesus based on the Quranic verse, "When thou didst cause me to die."
So Jesus died a natural death according to this interpretation.
Yes. He clarifies that while a descent is necessary for the promised Messiah, it is a spiritual manifestation, a second coming in spirit and character, not a physical return of the same person, Jesus. He warns quite strongly that he who does not accept my judgment is really not accepting him who appointed me as arbiter, thus equating rejection of his divinely appointed role with rejection of God's will.
That's a very bold claim. What proof does he offer?
He outlines 4 core divine testimonies or signs, given by God, he says, to support this immense claim, each presented as unmatched in his time and serving as concrete proof.
Okay, what are these 4 signs?
1. Eloquence in Arabic. He was granted, he claims, unparalleled and miraculous eloquence in the Arabic language, despite not being a native Arab speaker or having studied it traditionally. This serves as a reflection of the miracle of the Holy Quran itself, demonstrating a divine source of knowledge, as no one, he challenged, could compete with his linguistic mastery and the spiritual insights expressed in his Arabic writings.
A linguistic miracle, essentially. 2.
2. Elucidating Quranic truths. He states he possesses an unmatched ability to elucidate deep truths and spiritual insights of the Holy Quran. He didn't merely interpret, he unlocked layers of meaning and wisdom previously unknown, revealing the Quran's profound relevance to the modern age, a gift he claims no contemporary scholar could equal.
Unlocking the Quran's depths. 3.
3. Abundant acceptance of prayers. He claims nearly 30,000 of my prayers have been granted, and I have proof of it. He refers to specific instances where his prayers for divine signs, for the healing of the sick, or for the downfall of opponents were miraculously fulfilled. This extraordinary record of answered prayers is presented as a tangible sign that no one in his era could rival, indicating a unique closeness to God.
30,000 is a specific number, tangible proof. 4.
4. News of the unseen. He asserts he has been blessed with the sign of receiving news of the unseen, through divine revelations containing prophecies that were fulfilled. This includes specific predictions about natural disasters, political events, and personal outcomes, all delivered, he claims, with an accuracy and frequency unmatched in his time, confirming his divine appointment.
Prophecies fulfilled. Are there other signs mentioned?
Yes. Beyond these core 4, he mentions the fulfillment of numerous external prophecies foretold in Hadith. He says, heaven rained down signs of the times, and the earth also spoke. Specifically, he points to the solar and lunar eclipses occurring in the month of Ramadan. On specific prophesied dates, an unprecedented astronomical event seen as confirming the advent of the Mahdi and Messiah.
The eclipses sign. Right.
Yes. He also highlights the suspension of the Hajj pilgrimage due to plague outbreaks and the widespread nature of the plague itself, all presented as being in accordance with Hadith prophecies about the time of the Messiah. He notes that hundreds of Hindus and Muslims witnessed these and many other signs he hasn't even mentioned, making them verifiable historical events in his view.
So internal signs and external public signs.
Correct. He asserts that God is his supporter, like a sharp sword, against those who oppose him with evil intent, promising them humiliation and disgrace if they attempt to harm his mission. He has openly proclaimed that he is the Imam of the age and challenges anyone to compete with his signs if they believe he is not the true arbiter.
This is a truly powerful assertion of a divinely appointed role, backed by specific and, he claims, verifiable signs and fulfilled prophecies. It certainly puts his claim into a very concrete framework for consideration.
It does.
Now, the book mentions that a specific incident, an error in opinion from a friend, actually compelled Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad to write this particular pamphlet, especially concerning the concept of bayat. Can you explain what bayat truly signifies in this context and how it relates directly to this claim of imamat? What makes it distinct from just, say, joining a spiritual community or following a teaching?
Yes, the catalyst for writing this profound booklet was indeed a very personal and, I think, illuminating incident that really brought the issue into sharp focus for him.
What happened?
In September 1898, a devout, righteous friend, whom the author deeply respected and who even received revelations himself, visited him. While delighted by his friend's spiritual experiences, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad was deeply concerned by one particular dream his friend recounted. Yes, in this dream, the friend said about the author, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, "Why should I enter into his pledge? Bayat, rather he should enter into my pledge."
Oh, that sounds problematic given the context.
Exactly. This dream, though seemingly benign, revealed, in the author's view, the friend's fundamental misunderstanding of true imamat and the profound purpose of bayat. It indicated a potential spiritual arrogance that could be deeply perilous.
So what is the true meaning of bayat here?
Well, the book defines bayat as derived from bayat, which signifies a mutually agreed transaction, like a sale or a sacred covenant.
A transaction between whom?
Between the seeker and the guide. In this unique spiritual transaction, the one entering into bayat sells himself and all his faculties into the hands of a guide, so that in return he may receive true spiritual knowledge and blessings to perfection.
Selling oneself. That sounds intense. What's the return?
The ultimate goal isn't mere subservience, but achieving spiritual insight, salvation, and the pleasure of Allah the Most High. It's crucial to understand, the author stresses, that bayat is not meant mere repentance, which one can do alone before God at any time,
Right.
but rather it is a path to a deeper level of spiritual knowledge, blessings, and signs which draw a person to true repentance, ultimately fostering a pure relationship with God. If such a guide, an imam of the age, exists, the book argues, it would be the worst type of perversity for one to turn away from him knowingly and deliberately, as it would mean turning away from a direct conduit to divine grace.
So it's a committed path to transformation via the imam.
Precisely. It's a profound commitment to a transformative spiritual journey under a divinely appointed leader.
How did Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad respond to his friend's dream then?
He issued a direct, unequivocal challenge to his friend, demonstrating the practical test of true imat, which he argues is rooted in superior knowledge and undeniable divine support, not just personal piety or dreams.
A challenge. What was it?
He declared, if he, the friend, should possess such truths and knowledge and heavenly graces that were not bestowed on me, or if such knowledge of the Quran was disclosed to him as was not given to me, then that venerable person should take my hand in his service and obedience.
He offered to follow the friend if the friend was superior?
Yes. He even offered to become his disciple if the friend could explain Surah Ikhlas, a very short but profoundly deep chapter of the Quran, 1,000 times better than him in a public gathering. This wasn't a challenge of personal piety, but a profound spiritual and intellectual mastery, the kind required of an imam.
Putting the claim of superior knowledge to the test.
Exactly. He also gently pointed out a critical distinction in the quality of revelation between them. While he didn't deny his friend's revelations, he observed that they contained grammatical and linguistic errors in many places.
Errors in the revelation.
Yes. He explained that such errors signify a low order of revelation, one not invested with the full manifestation of the light of God the Most High. Pure eloquence in revelation, like that of the Holy Quran, is presented as a sign of purity of heart and a higher level of divine communication. This highlights that even genuine spiritual experiences have grades and varying degrees of divine backing and perfection.
So the quality matters immensely.
Immensely. He then contrasted his friend's spiritual stature with that of highly learned scholars within his own movement, such as Molvi Abdul Karim and Molvi Hakim Hafiz Haji Nuruddin, who, he stated, possessed thousands of deep Quranic insights after joining him and accepting his guidance. He challenged his friend. If you are the true imam, then teach even one of the 30 parts of the Holy Quran, along with its deep truths and spiritual knowledge, to these accomplished scholars. Could you enlighten them further? This underscores that the imam's authority is rooted not just in personal revelations, but in profound transformative knowledge that can truly benefit and enlighten others, even established scholars.
Right. Can you actually teach and elevate others?
That's the practical test. He questioned whether his esteemed scholars would have left their comfortable homes and suffered privation to join him without seeing immense, verifiable spiritual benefit, and deeper knowledge emanating from him.
Makes sense.
This reinforces the idea that while many in his movement, including, he mentions, women who knew no Arabic, received revelations, some even with fewer linguistic mistakes than his friends, they still recognize the necessity of the Imam's bayat for increase in spiritual knowledge and strengthening of faith. Their personal revelations, rather than making them feel independent, actually affirmed their need for the central spiritual guide.
So their own experiences confirmed his role for them.
That's the argument presented. Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad concluded with a firm assertion: "Whatever God has bestowed on me has all been intended as evidence of the position of Imam." He stated that God's promises cannot be changed. He referenced an earlier revelation published decades prior in his book Barahin-e-Ahmadiyya, where he was given knowledge of the Quran and the title First of the Believers. He stands ready, he says, for combat in the spiritual field, and those who do not accept him will ultimately face spiritual shame.
Oh, Cook?
He reinforces this with a principle of capability, using the analogy of an illiterate man being recommended for a tax collector post to an English commissioner.
How does that analogy work?
Just as worldly office requires profound capability and demonstrated expertise, spiritual leadership, the vice-staturency of prophethood, demands it even more so. It's not just about good intentions or isolated spiritual experiences. He quotes the Quran, "Allah knows best where to place his message," emphasizing that the mantle of imamat requires far more than a few unproven words of revelation to satisfy both followers and opponents. It demands a spiritual and intellectual capacity that can stand against the opposition of the whole world and guide humanity effectively back to God.
Capability and proven results, not just claims or personal feelings.
That's the essence of it.
We've taken a truly expansive deep dive today into a transformative and, well, foundational text, the need for the Imam, and really unpacked the profound arguments made by Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad.
Covered a lot of ground.
We really have. We've explored the, frankly, dire consequences of spiritual ignorance, as presented here, the nuanced and demanding definition of true divine leadership, the fascinating mechanics of divine revelation, how to potentially discern its authenticity, and the specific claims and compelling proofs presented by Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad as the Imam of the age. It's certainly a lot to consider.
It is. It challenges many assumptions.
It really does. So, for you listening, what stands out from this journey into spiritual leadership? How might recognizing, or perhaps even just seeking out, such a figure shape your own spiritual path, your own thirst for deeper understanding and connection with the divine? This exploration, I think, offers us a powerful new lens through which to view our spiritual journeys.
Absolutely. And this deep dive, I think, leaves us with a truly compelling and perhaps challenging thought. True spiritual vitality, according to this perspective, is not merely a relic of the past, something confined to ancient texts, something just to be historically revered.
Right. It's presented as living.
Exactly. Rather, it is a dynamic, living force, continuously renewed through divinely appointed guides. The very concept of the Imam of the age challenges us to consider that our spiritual journey demands active engagement, critical discernment, and an openness to contemporary divine guidance, not just historical reverence. It asks us, quite fundamentally, how we are truly connecting with God's ever-present attributes, like His speech, His guidance in our time right now.
Are we looking for that living connection?
Are we waiting for history to repeat itself, or are we actively seeking the living manifestation of divine guidance in the present moment? It is fundamentally a call to awaken our spiritual senses and embrace the ongoing, unfolding reality of God's communication with humanity.
A provocative thought indeed. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.